Hi there guys, I'm Joe Garth, creator of Brushify.io. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you the new Multi-Biome Landscape shader. There are multiple Brushify packs available on Unreal Engine Marketplace. With the Multi-Biome Landscape shader, all of these different environments can be blended together seamlessly in a single Unreal Engine map. So, strap yourselves in, get yourself a hot cup of Earl Grey, and let's get started. So to begin with, I'm going to start with a blank Unreal Engine level, and I'm going to create a new landscape. When you first create it, it's going to be black, but don't worry about that for now. Let's choose the landscape, and then we're going to go down to Landscape Material, and I'm going to make sure I go to the Brushify Materials Landscape folder, and I'm going to drag and drop mi_landscape onto the Landscape Material slot. So now we're going to fix the fact that it's still black, and to do that I'm just going to go up to the Modes panel and I'm going to choose Landscape, and from there I'm going to choose the Paint tab. Here you can see all of the various biomes that are ready to be painted down. So to make it not go completely black, I need to create some layer info files. To do that, I'm going to click the little plus to the right side of each layer and click Weight Blended Layer. Then I'm going to scroll to the folder where I'm going to store this layer info file. That can be pretty much anywhere in your project, but I recommend putting it in the same folder as your level. So here I'm just going to save my level into a new folder. Let's just call that New Map, and I'm going to create a new folder where I'm going to store my layer info files. So you can do that just by right clicking anywhere in there and hit New Folder, Layer Info, and then hit OK. So you can see now I've got a grassy texture, however I've got this sort of strange tiling that's happening all over my terrain. That's actually caused by the static lighting, and by just doing a light build you can get rid of that. It doesn't matter if the light build fails or it's not set up, it will just remove that static lighting. So as you can see, it's completely filled with the grass biome right now. And to paint different biomes, I'm going to go to my landscape paint menu, and I'm just going to start adding the layer infos for each one and saving them into the same layer info folder. So just keep selecting layer info, hit OK, create layer info, weight blended layer, select the folder and hit OK for all the layers that you want available in the level. And after that, just go and save them. And now you can start painting them down pretty much as you would any other landscape material in Unreal. So that's the sort of dry grass biome, desert biome, snow biome, and let's try beach biome. And you can see that as I zoom into each of them, they've all got sort of different texture settings and different erosion patterns and things going on in there. And this sort of automatic texturing helps to create realistic terrain. You'll also see that as I sculpt some sort of slopes, the slopes are automatically textured, and you don't need to do anything to make that work. That's all handled by the shader. You can see in the snow, it's actually the snow actually attacks at a sort of angle, covering certain angles with the snow, and that angle can be adjusted in the landscape material instance settings as well. So with Brushify, you'll usually get much better results if you use the actual Brushify sculpting brushes. So that means that instead of sculpting this sort of blobby terrain, you're going to be painting really detailed mountains down, which gives the texturizer a lot to work with. So to do that, go to the landscape panel and choose sculpt mode. Then switch to the alpha brush. From there, you can set the tool strength. I usually set it to sort of 3 or 4 at first. You can then choose between the various alpha brushes that come with each Brushify pack. Every pack comes with its own alpha brush, which you can use for landscape sculpting. The brushes are tailor-made for each biome. So for instance, Grasslands comes with a sort of grassy erosion brush, whereas Desert Mountains has its own unique desert mountain brush with various desert mountain variations. So here you can alter the brush size, and I usually make sure that I tick clay brush and then untick auto rotate. That means you can manually change the texture rotation. Each brush is a single texture file, but it comes with 4 different texture channels: red, green, blue, and alpha. Simply change the texture channel and it'll change the brush. So I'm going to start creating some big shapes here, and let's see how that affects the various painted biomes. So if we zoom in here, we can see that all of the slopes and various details are textured automatically. That's great for an artist because it means you can concentrate more on the overall composition of the landscape rather than hand painting small texture details. Here's another example in a more complete scene where I'm painting snow down on the tops of mountains. So you can see that the edges and the sort of feathering is all sort of done automatically for you, and if you zoom in, you'll see there's lots of detail there. The Brushify Multi-Biome shader has 3 different levels of detail built in, which are global, macro, and a close-up detail layer. That's the reason it works on such large distances and for huge vistas. So I'm going to play around and add another layer here. I think I'm just going to paint some of the beach layer, which is sort of a sandy colored layer. Of course, these are just the sort of generic names for them. You can use them in any way that you want. If you want to make a sort of desert or a dune and the beach texture looks better for you, by all means use the beach texture to get the result that you want. So I'm going to try a larger landscape blend. I'm just going to try and transition from desert all the way to grasslands, and here you can see I've got a massive brush size and a very small tool strength, and that lets me just sort of blend together different biomes across a huge area. So if I zoom out here, you can see that blend all the way across. And that blend can be as big as you like or as small as you like. This is great for something like an MMO game or a larger RPG where you want the player to be able to traverse across a land with multiple biomes. So sometimes when you're painting around, you'll notice that the texture of your assets doesn't match the biome. So to fix that problem, I've created material instances for each of the Brushify assets that have the various textures built in for each biome. And of course you can create your own material instances and adjust those settings to create your own. So here I'm switching this mountaintop to the snow material instance, and you can see it's got a sort of smattering of snow on top of the mountain now. So here's the desert material instance and the coast material instance. So if I go inside the snow material instance, you can find parameters for snow strength and snow tiling. This will help you get the look that you want for a certain object, and this can be applied to any object that's using the Brushify Nearmesh shader. You've also got the option to add a tint to the material, and you can use this to create the sort of texture variations you want. The other thing that's really cool is you can switch out the snow texture for something else. So that's just a random leaf texture. It's not going to look very good. Let's try something else like a mud. Here we go, mud distance. And so you can see it's sort of caking the whole thing in mud. And you can control the intensity of that and the tiling as well. And of course, by adjusting the tint of the base texture, you can get some pretty interesting and varied results. And of course, all of those variations aren't going to be requiring any new textures or sort of baked maps, so it's not going to take up any more texture memory. You can really do a massive amount by just reusing texture maps from other parts of the project. So if you have something like a generic snow texture or mud texture, you can of course reuse that on different objects. So I've just sped up this part of the video to show myself painting a mountain range with a few different material variations. So with this landscape shader, it can be really easy to just paint little sub-biomes all over the map. So you can have parts of the mountain that, are more sandy, other parts where it's a little bit more grassy, and just not have to worry about things like the slope or the detailed texturization. Everything's handled automatically. This is really what separates Brushify from other products, and it took a lot of time and effort to build a landscape material like this. The Brushify landscape material is still highly performant. The way that the performance works is the more landscape layers you use in a particular area, the more overdraw is going to be caused. But I'd say as long as you keep it around 5 or 6 layers, your performance is going to be pretty solid. Brushify came about from my own personal experience of trying to build a large open world game in Unreal Engine 4 and not being able to find a landscape product like this. It's my hope that you're going to find this product as useful as I'm going to, and I hope that it serves as a good basis for any projects that you start in Unreal. If you need any help or support, visit brushify.io and contact me directly. I'm more than happy to run you through how the product works and help you get started.